Hi everybody, just a quick update. I encourage you to stop listening to the blogs and the people, which is like 99% of the YouTube blogosphere type thing, maybe 90% just to be fair, who are saying how central banks are manipulating the markets and they're pushing the markets up and they're cooking them up pretty much by printing money. Steve Wenmira is one of those who is not part of the club that you need to unsubscribe from, in my opinion, because what happened overnight is that yesterday during trading hours in Australia here, the market went up because overnight in America it went up the night before, not this last session, the session before. So America went up. So the Australia yesterday woke up to a gain of 1.2% very quickly in the morning, and then it went downwards. It just continued kind of down, and it touched, and just marginally it was actually negative at some point, maybe at about 2:30 in the afternoon from memory. And then for some reason, but we know what that reason is now, the market started going back up because the US futures went up from negative. They all of a sudden went to positive. Now, okay, why did the US futures go up? Well, apparently Lagarde, who is the chairwoman of the European Central Bank, Christine Lagarde, came out and had some surprise, positive outlook on the economy and what they're going to do going forward as far as saving the economy and making sure that the financial markets are intact, etc., etc. Everything that we contribute to and kind of explain and say, well, that's the market manipulation. Well, it did manipulate the market for a little bit because, again, the futures went up. The Australian stock market went from a zero, meaning being exactly the same as the day before, to closing up about 0.5%. And then we have the US trading. And the US, as we know, overnight has come down 1.5% to 2%, depending on what Dow Jones has gone down, as well as S&P 500 and Nasdaq. They all have gone down after the futures were up, which means that the central banks can cook the markets for a little bit, and that's very short-lived. The cycles are a different thing, and that will take its course. Now we just have to figure out the cycles. That's the only thing we have to do to figure out these markets. But we know that there was also negative news about this corona vaccine that is apparently, there's one person that developed unexplained symptoms. I mean, what does that mean? That almost tells you that we are not ready to push it out yet. We never were ready to push it out, but now we're just telling you that, and it's time to kind of quote unquote crash the market. But it's not going to crash because of that. It's not the central banks, and by the way, central banks are not printing the money. As Steve Wenmira explains, they only are allowing the commercial or the primary dealers to buy these bonds and to park them, and for the large banks to be able to have a collateral to be able to lend money out, which they're not doing because they see it as a high risk. So the economy is going to stay where it is. I mean, I'm not a genius for predicting that Australian stock market's going to tank today, because overnight, once again, Dow Jones and S&P 500 and Nasdaq, all three of them went down, and Russell, I'm sure, 2000 went down. Again, I'm not being a prophet. The only purpose of this video is just to tell you that you'll have these people come out and say, the Fed and central banks are juicing the markets. That's why the markets are going up. The markets were going to go up no matter what they did. It may influence the actual amount, the amplitude of the decline or a rise when it happens. But as far as the timing, it doesn't have any bearing to it. Is what I've figured out. Like I said, overnight, it was very interesting that the US futures were negative. The Australian market wasn't looking good because of the US futures. Next thing you know, Lagarde comes out and says some, magic words, and then the US futures go up. The Australian market sees that yesterday and recovers in the late session up to 0.5%, which is really nothing. So the futures in the US were positive. You think, well, that normally means that the US market is going to be positive, and what happens overnight, we've just seen a bit of I wouldn't call it carnage, but it's definitely pulled back, and it's easy to predict what's going to happen in 25 minutes. It's 9:35 a.m. As you can see behind me over there on the clock, and 10 o'clock is when the Australian markets open up, Sydney Melbourne time. So good luck, everyone. We'll keep watching this and see how it develops. I think the next leg is down. Finally, I have been calling it for a little while, but it's not going to happen until it's ready to happen. That's all there is to it, no matter what I say and no matter what all the other channels and blogosphere says about the markets. It'll just take its course as it does. I'm starting to think it's something to do with the star movements, and I'm not even joking when I say this, but I'm kind of looking into it. In any case, have a good Friday. Happy Friday, TGIF, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.